Okay, so let's talk about a food that has absolutely exploded onto the scene in the Western world. It's on every health food blog, in every fancy supermarket. It's being called a superfood. But the real story behind it is so much more incredible than you've probably heard. Let's get into it. You know the scene, right? You walk into a nice grocery store, you see these perfectly vacuum-packed blocks of tempeh, and they come with a pretty serious price tag. But this quote right here, it gets to the heart of this huge, kind of crazy contradiction. Because where this food comes from, it's not a luxury. It's just food. Affordable, everyday food.
And the hype is absolutely real. I mean, you've got celebrity chefs, you've got scientists, you've got this massive multi-billion-dollar plant-based food industry all betting on tempeh. It's being sold to us as this cutting-edge, almost futuristic solution to some of our planet's biggest problems.
And yet, this is where it all started. Not in some high-tech lab, not in a corporate kitchen. It started in the most humble of places, the everyday village kitchens of Java, Indonesia. It's been a staple there for centuries. And that gap between the Javanese village and the global supermarket, that's the entire story. So that brings us to the big question, right? If you strip away all the marketing, all the health claims, what is this stuff, really? How did this fermented soybean cake make this unbelievable journey from a small village kitchen to a global food phenomenon? Well, that's what we're here to find out.
So first up, we're going to look at just how tempeh became this global player. It's an amazing story of ancient wisdom meeting the modern world.
And next, we're diving deep into the kitchen. But this isn't just cooking, it's more like alchemy. We're going to look at the incredible science that transforms a simple soybean into something so much more.
Okay, so here's the technical breakdown. The absolute key thing to understand is that tempeh is a fermented food. It's made by introducing a very specific, very friendly mold called rhizopus to cooked soybeans. And all that white stuff you see holding the beans together, that's called mycelium. Think of it like the root system of the mold, and it weaves through all the beans, binding them into this dense, firm cake you can slice and cook.
So why even bother with all that? Well, this slide shows you the problem that fermentation solves. See, raw soybeans kind of have their own natural defense system. They've got these compounds that make them really hard for us to digest, and they actually block our bodies from absorbing key minerals. The fermentation process, though, it's like it systematically disarms all of those defenses.
And this is where it gets just mind-blowing. That little mold is a powerhouse. It's a tiny biological factory doing all this incredible work. It breaks down something called phytic acid, which unlocks all those good minerals. It pre-digests the protein so our bodies can use them way more easily. It even creates B12-like compounds and prebiotics for your gut. Scientists have a fancy name for it, biotransformation, and honestly, they're still in awe of how efficient it is. And the process itself, perfected centuries ago, is just so beautifully simple. You soak the beans, you cook them, you let them cool down. Then you sprinkle in the starter, wrap them up, traditionally in big banana leaves, and then you just wait. You let nature do the work. In a day or two, that magical mold has grown, and you have this firm, warm cake of tempeh. And they figured this all out long before anyone even knew what a microbe was.
So now we know what it is and how it's made. But how in the world did anyone discover this in the first place? Well, this wasn't an invention. It was almost certainly a brilliant accident.
The story that makes the most sense is just fantastic. Picture this. A cook in Java, centuries ago, has some leftover cooked soybeans. They wrap them up in some leaves to store them. Now the warm air, the humidity, the natural spores on those leaves, it was the perfect storm. The mold grew. But here's the key part. Instead of seeing mold and throwing it out, someone was curious. They cooked it, they tasted it, and in that moment of curiosity, they gave the world this incredible food. It really wasn't until 1979, with The Book of Tempeh, that the West truly caught on, and that's what kicked off the revolution we're seeing today.
And that brings us right back to that big, bold claim. Why are so many smart people calling this ancient food the protein of the future? Well, it's because it happens to be an almost perfect solution to a very, very modern problem.
The environmental argument is, well, it's not even an argument. Look at this comparison. The carbon footprint of producing protein from beef is just on another planet compared to tempeh. We are talking a tiny fraction of the land, the water, and the greenhouse gas emissions. When you're looking for ways to feed a growing world sustainably, this is literally what a solution looks like on a chart.
And let's just put a number on it so it really sinks in. 14.5%. That's how much of all global greenhouse gas emissions come from raising livestock. For perspective, that's more than every car, truck, plane, and ship on the planet combined.
That's the scale of the challenge that a protein like tempeh can help us solve. Okay, so it's good for the planet, but is it actually a good replacement for meat nutritionally? The answer is a resounding yes. A 100-gram serving of tempeh has about 19 grams of protein. That's right up there with chicken. And, importantly, it's a complete protein, meaning it has all 9 of the essential amino acids our bodies can't make on their own. So yeah, it's not just sustainable, it's also seriously nutritious.
But, and this is a really important but, as tempeh becomes this global superstar, it forces us to ask a difficult, really complex question. In this whole plant-based revolution, who is actually winning? And is something getting lost along the way?
This slide just lays the contrast out so clearly. On one side, you have the Javanese tradition. Tempeh is made fresh, daily, by local artisans. It's part of the culture. On the other side, you have the global industry. It's a standardized product, vacuum-packed for a long shelf life. And here's the tough part. While the whole world gets to enjoy the benefits, most of the money, most of the value, is being captured by big companies in the West, not by the Indonesian communities who gave us this gift in the first place.
And that really is the final thought we should leave with. Tempeh isn't just a trendy health food. It's the end product of centuries of knowledge, of ingenuity passed down in millions of Javanese kitchens. It's a story about culture and human curiosity. And knowing that story, knowing whose kitchen it really came from, well, it changes how you see that simple block of soybeans. It changes everything.